must take exclusive charge of the reservoir for the purpose of dividing or distributing the water from the reservoir in accordance with the respective and relative rights until the necessity of such action ceases to exist. On April 3rd, 2020, the department received from the Klamath Irrigation District, KID, a notification of a dispute between it and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, or BOR. Most prominently, the KID is concerned about flows that are released from the Link River Dam into the Klamath River. Immediately upon receiving the notice, the department began to investigate the dispute in aid of making a distribution from the lake. And on April 16, 2020, the department issued its notification of dispute and investigation in aid of distribution, a first and necessary step that comprises taking charge of the Upper Klamath Lake. On April 17, 2020, the KID filed a petition for alternative writ of mandamus in the Marion County Circuit Court, and on April 21, 2020, the court issued an alternative writ of mandamus commanding the department to immediately, upon receipt of the writ, and to the extent not previously done, to take exclusive charge of Upper Klamath Lake for the purpose of dividing or distributing the water from it in accordance with the relative rights of the various users. As you can imagine, the distribution of water from Upper Klamath Lake represents a complex process that requires a commensurately complex investigation. The department believes that the investigatory authorities in 536.026, such as the ability to issue subpoenas, hold hearings, and take testimony, are necessary to conduct an investigation in aid of distribution of water. This concludes my initial remarks. I am now going to ask Tom Paul to briefly explain to the Commission those key pieces of information the department needs in aid of its distribution. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Renee. Good morning, Chair Reeves, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Tom Paul, Special Assistant to Tom Butler, Director of the Oregon Water Resources Department. As Ms. Milan stated, the department is requesting the delegation of authority under ORS 536.026 to the Director for the purpose of the department's investigation in aid of distribution from Upper Klamath Lake Reservoir, prompted by the notice of dispute received from Klamath Irrigation District under the provisions of Oregon Revised Statute 54210. Upper Klamath Lake Reservoir is owned by the Bureau of Reclamation. The Bureau filed KA 294 in the Klamath adjudication. KA 294 is a claim consistent with the provisions of Oregon Revised Statute 539, which relates to adjudications. The Bureau filed the claim in the adjudication. The adjudicator, sorry about that, included claim KA 294 in the amended and corrected finding of fact and order of determination in the Klamath General Stream adjudication. The adjudicator named the Bureau as the owner of KA 294. Claim 294 allows the storage of up to 486,828 acre feet. The department has taken exclusive charge of Upper Klamath Lake for the purpose of dividing and distributing the water stored. Dividing and distributing water stored in a reservoir, which is on a stream or across a stream, is very complex. The department began identifying the needed information of dispute on April 3rd, 2020. Meetings were held with the Bureau of Reclamation and Pacific Corps. Both entities provided information following those meetings. Much more information is needed. The Water Master will need to know how much water in Upper Klamath Lake is stored water and how much is natural flow. Link River Dam is owned by the Bureau. However, Pacific Corps operates the control works. The Water Master will need to know how water is regulated at the dam. The Water Master must know how much water is flowing into Upper Klamath Lake and how much water is leaving Upper Klamath Lake. All streams flowing into the lake have stream flow measuring stations. water leaving the lake, maybe by direct diversion, so there are uses around the lake, or from discharge at the dam, and also from evaporative loss from the surface. There are several locations around the lake where water is diverted for beneficial purposes, including the point where the A Canal takes water to serve Klamath Irrigation District. Klamath Irrigation District is the operator of the A Canal control works. Not all diversions have had gates and measuring devices. Additionally, some diversions are allowed to take water naturally flowing into the lake, while others have rights which allows the use of both natural flow and water stored under KA 294. There are many locations below Lake River Dam where water is taken to satisfy water rights. As with the diversions around the lake, some of the water rights below Lake River Dam are allowed to divert and use both natural flow and water stored under KA 294, while other water rights below Lake are limited to just the diversion of natural flow. The water master needs to know which diversions are entitled to divert both water coming from natural flow and stored water under 294. And for those diversions, the water master will also need to know the proportion of water being diverted, which is natural flow, and the portion which is stored water. The Bureau has issued many contracts for the use of storage under KA 294. The water master will need to know the conditions contained within the contracts. The water master will also need to know which lands are ready, willing, and able to receive the water consistent with their water rights. I hope that this information helps you to better understand the complexities which the water master is faced with. The issuance of subpoenas and the holding of a hearing is needed to provide the water master with the factual basis on which to divide and distribute the water stored in Upper Klamath Lake. The single question before the Commission is whether to delegate authority granted under Oregon Revised Statute 536-26. The Commission is being asked to consider the following alternatives. 1, delegate authority under ORS 536-026 to the Director for the purpose of the Department's investigation of the notice of dispute received from Klamath Irrigation District pursuant to Oregon Revised Statute 54210 as provided in the proposed delegation order, Attachment 3. 2, do not delegate to the Director the authority under ORS 536-026 and instead have the Commission or one or more of its members take the lead on the investigation. 3, defer the decision and request additional information. The Director respectfully recommends Alternative 1. That concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions regarding the request.
Thank you, Renee and Tom. This is Meg. What I'm going to do is go through for each commissioner and give you the opportunity to ask questions. I'd just like to say, to add my thoughts about that we've been presented with a tremendous amount of information in connection with this agenda item, but we're being asked about a very narrow question, which is whether to delegate to the department authority to conduct the investigation they need to do in order to do what they're charged with under the statute and under this order. And so I just ask that you keep that in mind as you're asking questions. I knew that a lot of this was background material for us, but remember that what's being asked of us at this moment is pretty narrow. So let's see. Commissioner Baumgartner, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to formulate the question, but maybe it goes to, I'm anticipating there may be some controversy after the investigation is complete, whoever does it, and the allocation is identified. If there remains debate about that following the investigation, under the option 1 and option 2, does the commission have any role in either of those options?
Renee or Tom Byler, who would like to take that question?
This is Renee. I can get us kicked off.
Hi, Renee.
So, hi, Commissioner Baumgartner. So generally, the department is treating this distribution as it would any other distribution of water. And so I think the thought is that and to back up a minute, generally when a water master receives a complaint of a shortage or a call for water, the first thing that the water master does is conduct an investigation to validate the call. And then once that process of validating the call and assessing the information that's contextual to the call or the claim of shortage is addressed, then the water master will proceed to divide or distribute the water in accordance with the user's existing water rights. So the current regulatory process doesn't require commission intervention. And I think that at this point, the department is envisioning that like other regulatory actions, even though this one is significant in its scope and importance and magnitude, that the department would conduct the investigation and perform any subsequent acts relative to distributing water. That said, I don't know if there will be the need to bring the commission in. I can't really envision a scenario, but that may be because I'm unimaginative or tired. So at this point, I just don't envision that the commission will need to be involved with the investigation or the distribution. There is a provision in ORS 540-220 that says that the commission may make a determination as to whether the costs of distribution are paid up front or after the distribution. So if the department does get to the point where it needs the commission to address that question, then it is likely that the commission will be asked to reconvene
Conference
to address
recording
that question.
Stopped. Conference recording started.
So does that answer your question, Commissioner Baumgartner?
Yes, it does. You did very well. Thank you.
Any follow-up? Any other questions, Commissioner Baumgartner?
No, Chair Reeves, not for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Tahara, any questions?
No questions for me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Quint, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Mall, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Corrin, any questions?
I was just curious, what is they think it's going to be the time frame for this investigation to be completed?
Tom, Paul, could you address that?
Thank you, Chair Reeves, Commissioner Court. The department has not laid out the schedule as to when a hearing will be set and how long it will take to conduct. It's largely going to depend on the amount of information and the number of individuals we're requesting the information from.
Thank you.
If I do not have any questions on this item, so if any other commissioners have any follow-up, I'll be quiet a minute and let people speak up. Okay, it sounds like none, which means that we would be taking public comment at this point. Nirvana, do we have any people who have requested to provide comment?
I do not see anybody that's requested at this time.
Okay, maybe I should do a last call on public comment on this agenda item. Remember that if you'd like to speak to the commission on this, you would press, what is it, *5 on your phone?
5-star.
Or five star, thank you. 5-star.
Okay, Chair Reeves,
Nothing is showing up on,
we do have one person that indicated they'd like to make public comment. I don't have a last name on this person. So the number is 1531 as Chris.
okay, maybe if Chris could tell us last name during
Tracy
comment.
Liskey.
Oh, Tracy. Okay, it's Tracy Liskey.
Tracy Liskey. Okay. Mr. Liskey, if you could limit your comments to 5 minutes, that would be great.
It'll be much shorter than that. My only question, the whole thing about this question is the flushing flow, and the flushing flow will be done in 72 hours or more. Your timelines don't do a lot of good sometimes for us.
Is that the extent of your comment, Mr. Liskey?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I neglected to say before we heard any public comments that if any commissioners have any follow-up on any of the comment that was presented, that we would take it up with staff after at the conclusion of comment. Do we have anybody else, Nirvana, who's requested to make comment?
I do not see anyone else.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any follow-up, or staff have any follow-up on this comment?
Terry,
Tom? Yes. Oh, Bruce, please.
That was really why my question was how long it was going to take, because as irrigators, I'm sure the timeliness of this is really, really an issue. So that was why my initial question was. So just that comment that was just made kind of followed up on that. The time frame on this, if it goes all summer, is going to be a real problem for a lot of parties, I think.
Any department staff, any comments, or?
This is Tom Paul, Chair Reeves, Commissioner Horn. We will be moving as rapidly as we can. We understand the urgency associated with water use. At this time, we do not have a call indicating that there is insufficient water at points of diversion to meet the need. But we will be proceeding as rapidly as possible. As noted a couple of different times, we have already started to make a list of needed information. The next step will be to set a date for hearing and then to issue the subpoenas so that the folks who we want to hear from have a clear understanding of the information being requested, and they will be prepared during the hearing to present that information.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. I have one other person that has requested to make comment, Patty Goldman. You could limit comments to 5 minutes as well.
Thank you. So to repeat, my name is Patty Goldman. I'm with Earth Justice, and I represent the Yurok Tribe, Pacific Coast Federation of Fishermen's Association, and Institute for Fisheries Resources in federal court litigation over the Bureau's obligations under the Federal Endangered Species Act and other federal laws. And in the context of that litigation and prior court cases in which the various irrigation associations have participated as interveners, the federal district court has addressed the obligations of the Bureau to provide various flows to the river for salmon that are on the endangered species list or prey for animals on the list. And so the various flows are required under federal law, including the surface flushing flow. And what is happening in this process is a potential collision between the state water rights and the federal law. One thing I would like to point out is Klamath Irrigation District, which is the entity that has sought the writ of mandamus. That district has made it clear that it isn't necessarily opposed to the flows going to the river, and that it would like a lease and payment for those flows. So to the extent there's a concern about rushing to stop the flows, it's really a very complex issue and one that is not necessarily what Klamath Irrigation District is seeking in this context. So I just want to point out the complexities, and while I understand a sense of urgency, rushing could unnecessarily create conflicts, and we really need a deliberate investigation and approach to these issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Goldman. Do any commissioners have questions? I think that's the last. Nirvana, is that the end of requested public comment on this agenda item?
Yes, I do not see any more people who have indicated they want to make public comment.
Okay, so we're going to move then to any commissioner questions on any of the public comment. And if not that, then any further deliberation from any commissioners. I think maybe I'll just go and ask individual commissioners again about either deliberation or anything about the comment that they want to discuss, and then we'll move to a vote after that, depending on what comes out of these comments. So let's see, Commissioner Korn?
No,
further?
No further questions. No,
Okay,
thank you.
Right. Commissioner Baumgartner?
I have no more questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Kihara?
No further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn?
No further questions. Thank you.
Thanks. And Commissioner Mall?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that with that, we are ready for a vote on this agenda item, which I'm going to do again by individual voice vote. So I'm just going to go right down the list again. Commissioner Korn? Oh, wait a minute. Sorry.
We
Let
need
me
a
back
motion.
up. We need a motion.
We need a motion.
Right, we do. Yes, we do. Who would like to make a motion?
I can make the motion if you want, where you call that we accept the director's recommendation to delegate the authority to Director Myler to conduct this investigation. I move that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And a second?
Second, Eric Quimps.
Thank you. Now we need a roll call. Sorry about that. Commissioner Korn?
Yes.
Let me just say, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the director's recommendation to delegate authority under 536.026 to implement the provisions of ORS 542.10. Commissioner Korn?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Baumgartner?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Kihara?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Quint?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mall?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Reed votes yes. So that motion passes. And now we have public comment generally, if anyone wishes to address the commission on any matter at this point. Ivana, do we have any requesters?
I do not see, I'm checking the list. I do not see any new questions that have been put on the screen. Nobody's raised their hand
Okay.
virtually.
And we have a complete list of attendees
We do.
at this point? Okay, thank you. Before I adjourn the meeting, Tom Byler or Nirvana or any commissioner, is there anything that I've forgotten that you're aware of? Nothing.
Chair Reeves, this is Tom Byler. I think you've covered all the items that we had planned for the meeting today.
Good, thank you, Tom. All right then, with that, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See everybody. Stay safe.
All right,
thank
yeah,
you.
you too.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
all.
everyone.